Whoops. Greetings, my fellow Americans. This is your president speaking, Samuel Ronan, and I do know my own keyboard shortcuts. Today is Recap Thursday. Now, for those of y'all who are new to the stream, this is where we cover all of the things that have been happening throughout the week, even within the past 24 to 48 hours, because this timeline is so crazy, shit happens almost immediately. Also, I have a keffiyeh now, and we will be 100% sporting this. Now, I'm going to wear it like this. I don't know if that's the culturally appropriate way, and doing all of this is a little bit beyond my skill set, and I don't like having things like really surrounding my neck. It makes me feel a certain way. So it's going to be draped over my shoulders. If that is culturally insensitive, please somebody let me know. But for now, everything I saw said you can wear it however you're really comfortable with. So I am comfortable wearing it like this. But it's going to make, wearing the beret and the cigar have that much more impact too. Honestly, I feel like we can open up with the beret, and I'll only get like really incensed with the rifle later on. But I don't know. For now, I do want to just highlight that we have a keffiyeh, and part of what we're going to cover is also, of course, Palestine, because there's always something happening, or that we don't get to cover all the time. Hello, Anna. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Oh, you know what I did not realize? Kayla the Furry was a new follower. I thought she was a Kayla that I'm friends with on social media already. So, mea culpa, Kayla, if you're here, if you're watching, or if you do end up on the stream today. Welcome, because that went way over my head. Actually, though, that follow should have done something. Let's see. Yeah, the follows. A new follow. New follow. Oh my god. Was it not activated? Shit. Well. Holy shit, how long is that going to last? 10 seconds. Okay, that's too long. Shit. Almost made a mess. Streamlabs, I think it was. Hold on, guys, because that might explain why I didn't notice that I got a follow. Because of the whole, not having it signed in. Well, shit. And it's a default language of German, which I don't know why that is. I know German, but I'm trying to do this quickly. Technical difficulties, guys. I love it. I love it. My alert box should be enabled. Motherfucker. I really didn't have it. Ah! Well. Wait, no, I just wanted to copy it. Okay, copy. All right. So URL, right? So if I do this, and then I do that, and then I put this here. How do you do a preview? Of course, it's not going to show on the stream, right? All right, hold on. Preview. Only show here. To view events in your streaming software, save your settings, then click the test button above. Twitch. Ah! So we got it to work. All right! Which also means I have to put it on all these other things at. Where is your thingy? You're gonna have to be a bit more What thingy should you have seen just now? You didn't redeem anything, so... Anna, can you hear me? Get better at typing! For those of you who don't know, Anna is my primary, the Anna Reward. We never made an Anna Reward. What are you talking about? Why would we... Did I... You know what? I do remember being a little unhinged a couple days or weeks ago where I said something about Anna. But here's the thing. You're going to have to send me a picture then that you feel is appropriate to be seen with your face on the internet. You don't like to be the center of attention. So, no. It doesn't get more center of attention than having your face as a redeemable. Okay? So, just consider that when you send the picture. And I'm going to fix the alert boxes in all of these because I screwed that up apparently. So hold on. Oh, that fit right perfectly. That's awesome. Alright, I know that this should have already been fixed, but I didn't realize it was a problem until today, right now. So, hey! At least something's working. Woo! Victory! Alright. Hey, Tyler, what's going on? You just missed me editing my stream for the past 7 minutes. Okay, well, now that's going to be our first video. Where's the trains? I think I just went over it. No, I see robots. I see science. I see black hole... warp drive theory. Okay. Where's the trains? You can't just tease me about trains and then not have a train. Although we have a shit ton to talk about today. Look at that. Warp drives, APAC, Epstein, Edinburgh, Gaza, and then more conspiracies. Well, it's not because we just scrolled through everything. So you better fucking find a goddamn video about trains, ma'am. Good to be here. Thank you, Mr. President. You're welcome. I started working on this playlist 3 days ago. Yeah, because 3 days ago shit began rolling downhill. And it just continues to be that terrible. Okay. So I want a high-speed rail. Yeah, do the maglev transportation from Finland or Norway or whoever. Let's talk about that.
Welcome
after we talk, I mean, you find that, but we're going to talk about the events.
Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's announced plans to call up 60,000 reservists as it escalates its operation to seize all of Gaza City and to force...
Okay. What? Israel wants to activate 60,000 reservists to do what? Israel is literally starving the remaining Palestinians to death as we speak. Why on earth? Oh shit, that's right. Fuck, I forgot. 12-inch rule. I am so used to being close to this microphone now that I have to break my habit of a habit I built because I thought I was doing it wrong, but I did it even more wrong. Anyway, this can only be to literally exterminate and eradicate the remaining surviving Palestinians outright, and just expedite the whole starvation process by murdering them with 60,000 soldiers. So that's a fucking problem. That's a huge fucking problem.
Remove the city's entire population. Al Jazeera reports Israel's carrying out systematic demolitions of Palestinian homes across Gaza City. On Wednesday, Israel killed at least 81 Palestinians, including 5 in an attack on a tent in the Shati camp in Gaza City. The attack killed 3 children, ages 4, 7, and 9, along with their parents. Israel's killed another 20 Palestinians since dawn today. At least 2 more Palestinians have starved to death, bringing the total to 271. Meanwhile, an Israeli newspaper has revealed the Israeli military has a population relocation unit to oversee the forced displacement of Palestinians in Gaza. Earlier today, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned Israel's escalation in Gaza City.
I must reiterate that it is vital to reach immediately a ceasefire in Gaza and the unconditional release of all hostages, and to avoid the massive deaths and destruction that a military operation against Gaza City would inevitably cause.
Israel's government's granted final approval to a settlement project in the occupied West Bank that would effectively split Palestinian territory in two, sabotaging efforts at creating a future Palestinian state.
All of this doesn't make sense. First of all, Palestine existed before Israel. Let's just say that outright. Palestine was there first. Then Israel, with the help of Europe, colonized Palestine. Now, they want to relocate Palestinians back into the Gaza Strip, but in the ghettos, the Warsaw ghetto of the Gaza Strip, because that was already with the case. They were already being segregated in their own country by Israel. So, what in the actual fuck? I'm not saying Amy Goodman's the problem here. What the fuck is Israel talking about? What the fuck are they even attempting to talk about right now? And how is anybody just accepting this? We're just gonna allow Israel to murder Palestinians, drive them out of their homes, let them bulldoze the shit out of that, and then rebuild a ghetto in their land where they were to begin with, cut that in half, and then segregate them in an open-air prison again, but more prison-like. Excuse me? I know 48th president, but, we need to accelerate this timeline a touch, because Palestinians at this rate aren't going to exist by January 21st, 2029. That's at the rate things are going, that they're not going to be around, and that's not acceptable. That is definitely not acceptable. Not another cent until we get equal rights. We should force a two-state solution. Honestly, Tylo, and this isn't to be contradicting or argumentative or conflictatory. Confrontational. Jesus, that was the word. My goodness. I don't think we need a two-state solution. I think we need to dissolve Israel. I think Israel needs to be dissolved, and the citizens of Israel to be returned back to their countries of origin, and then the actual descendants of the Holocaust survivors can integrate into Palestinian society, as they probably did to begin with. So, no, we need to disband, to just completely dissolve the entire state of Israel, return all of the land to Palestine, and force Israeli Zionists to go back to their countries of origin. After facing crimes against humanity trials and tribunals, of course. We need international intervention immediately. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah, let's stop using the word solution. It gets a little dicey when someone with German heritage says solution a lot. I added the train video that I thought I had already added. Good! And don't make me tell you again! Alright. So, that was fucking disturbing. Is most of this about Palestine? Because I don't know if there's too much more of that I can take.
E1 settlement would see the construction of about 3,400 new housing units and would sever one of the few remaining territorial links between major Palestinian cities like Ramallah in the northern West Bank and southern cities like Bethlehem. Approval of the E1 settlement quickly drew international outrage.
Yeah,
UN Secretary General
as it should have.
condemned the plan as a, quote, existential threat to the two-state solution, unquote, while British Foreign Secretary David Lammy condemned it as a flagrant breach of international law.
So is starving a civilian population. So is murdering women and children. So is bombing every single hospital into non-existence. So is destroying every single university. So is literally bragging about murdering people and talking about killing every single man, woman, and child. Flagrant disregard for international law has been happening since October 7th. If we wanted to say history started then. But realistically, the genocide against Palestinians has been ongoing for much, much further. Like, October 7th is the date that everybody likes to refer to, and now I'm getting in the habit of doing it too. My point is, Israel has been committing war crimes and flagrantly violating international law for decades, for nearly a century. Well, it took 17 minutes for us to escalate. So yeah. Fuck Israel. Fuck Israel.
The U.S. State Department's fired its top press officer for Israeli-Palestinian affairs. The Washington Post reports the officer, Shahid Qureshi, was fired days after he recommended expressing condolences for journalists killed in Gaza and for opposing the forced displacement of Palestinians. In one case, Qureshi had drafted a press statement that read, quote, "We do not support forced displacement of Palestinians in Gaza," unquote. But State Department vetoed the language.
So again, the entire state of Israel, the entire government of Israel, has literally made it a problem for officials to make official statements condemning the atrocities of Israel against Palestinians. To put that into context, son of a bitch.
Department sanctioned 4 more officials at the International Criminal Court. It's the latest move by the Trump.
Breaking. Cali passed the redistricting plan. Well, that is interesting. That is interesting. Add a quick video to that. I'm sure there's at least a live news or something that we can cover to do that.
Administration to retaliate against the court for issuing an arrest warrant last year for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister for crimes against humanity and war crimes in Gaza. On Wednesday, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric condemned the U.S. actions.
The decision imposes severe impediments on the functioning of the Office of the Prosecutor and respect for all the situations that are currently before the court. Judicial independence is a basic principle that must be respected. And these types of measures undermine the foundation of international justice.
So America is literally being everybody's problem, not just America, which is bad enough, but now we're trying to be the problem internationally as well, which is true because America has intervened on Israel's behalf in the United Nations since the United Nations formed and Israel formed. So there it is.
Russia escalated its assault on Ukraine overnight, firing 574 drones and 40 ballistic and cruise missiles in one of its.
And so that ceasefire is out the window again because Trump cannot at all actually hold his own in a true negotiation. And I said this before. You're not going to negotiate with Russia and Ukraine as the United States of America by offering platitudes and other nonsense. The only way to do that is to actually offer real diplomatic solutions to the problem, which are things like, rights to natural gas and lithium, and or military presence from Russia, or even a joint military presence between NATO and Russia. If everybody's military is there, they gotta get along. They gotta wear the get along shirt. Or that could obviously cause more tensions to rise. But I'm saying there are things on the table that you could negotiate that America is just not. And so what's Russia doing? Attacking and aggressing some more. Because at the end of the day, they have the time, resources, and willpower to take over the Ukraine if they so desire. And as Anna mentioned yesterday, there are even parts of the Ukraine that are sympathetic to Russia. So it's only exacerbating this scenario by not creating an actual solution to the problem. Now I said the word solution. And they have China behind them. So again, it goes back to the whole point of, if you want peace between Russia and the Ukraine without redrawing the map, then the resolutions are with natural resources or military presence or a mixture of both. Otherwise, Russia is going to take Crimea, is going to take Kiev, is going to take all these other places, and NATO is going to shit its pants. So, those are the options. Russia's going to continue to fight, the Russian propaganda music notwithstanding, or you actually broker a real deal where they get access to resources and a military presence so Russia can go to sleep at night thinking that NATO isn't going to try and invade them. Which, again, I've said it time and time again, military conflict and posturing in 2025 is so archaic and out of date and unnecessary in a world where we are literally developing maglev transportation, hydrogen power cells, and developing actionable science that can utilize a hyperdrive. We are on the precipice of the AI age, the robotics age, and the space age, and we're still posturing over imaginary lines in the dirt. Anyway. Why isn't it... I'm gonna just get one of those fucking Steam... or one of those streaming button things. Because this keyboard is just not...
of the year.
Not it,
At least
apparently.
one civilian was killed and 15 injured in the latest Russian attack. Russia also hit an American electronics manufacturer in western Ukraine near the Hungarian border. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has yet to commit to talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, despite calls for a summit by President Trump. Russia is also demanding to be part of any future security guarantees for Ukraine, a position strongly opposed by Kyiv and European leaders. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said, quote, seriously discussing issues of ensuring security without the Russian Federation is a utopia, a road to nowhere, he said.
Which is true. It's unequivocally true. If you try and talk about peace without Russia involved in the discussion, you're not going to get peace. Now, what you could do, which is perfectly valid, is the NATO nations, Ukraine and America, get together and they're like, hey, y'all, what do you think we could actually offer Russia to get them to fucking stop? And, Ukraine's gonna be like, well, you can tell them to fuck off. It's like, okay, but that's not gonna happen. And then NATO could be like, well, we could just permanently deny you forever from getting and joining us. And then Ukraine's gonna be like, well, that's not cool. It's like, well, what's it gonna be? America, if they actually had a president leading, I would suggest, okay, how about this? We offer 20 years of military presence and 20 years of natural resource rights to Russia. But Russia has to return all lands and pay for reparations. And they're going to be like, and then Russia's going to be like, До свидания. Well, I don't know. Actually, they might. Whatever maybe is in Russian. And since Russian uses the acrylic language, I don't even think I can fake pronouncing it. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Maybe. To English, or English to Russian is может быть. So, my solution might get Vladimir to say, может быть. And quite frankly, that's better than what we've been getting, which is Vladimir Putin doing this to Trump. Hold on. Since this seems to be working. Kakyo Pridurok. It's Kakoi Pridurok. Kakoi Pridurok. Which is, what a jackass in Russian.
Какой придурок.
Ooh, I even pronounced it right. See, I am so linguistically skilled that I don't even know the basics of Russian semantics or phonetics, and I'm still more correctly pronouncing it than Trump is even speaking English. Again, this is the president right here. This is the president we could have, that we deserve, that we should have. But instead, we have the commander in stupidity. All right, let's try this again.
The Wall Street Journal reports President Trump has ordered the Pentagon to send 3 U.S. Navy warships to South America, including near the coast of Venezuela.
Oh, yeah, because we're invading Venezuela.
Trump recently signed a secret directive authorizing the U.S. military to carry out attacks in Latin America to target drug cartels. On Tuesday, the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, warned the U.S. against using military force in the region.
The Americans are wrong if they think that by invading Venezuela, they are solving their problems. They're putting Venezuela in the same situation as Syria, but they would drag Colombia into the same because these groups would take over underground resources and minerals. And this means more economy of death, not of life. So I told the United States through its envoys that invading Venezuela would be the worst mistake.
And it is. I mean, why are we invading Venezuela? Why? Oh, because of his buddy, right? His buddy who is facing, what, treason charges? And, of course, the oil from Venezuela, which I think... Doesn't Venezuela, at this point, actually have the world's largest oil reserves? The Middle East has the largest exporting, but I think Venezuela actually has the largest reserves. Okay, so I was right about that. So yeah, no, this is clearly a power grab, and it's also posturing. It's posturing. And again, why are we fighting or trying to initiate more conflict in the world when we're already allegedly spread thin with our munitions reserves? Like, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. As I say, we should be more peaceful as I'm holding a prop rifle. Doesn't quite give the same impression.
Republican-led House of Representatives have approved a new congressional district map designed to flip 5 Democratic-held U.S. House seats in the 2026 midterm elections. A bill redrawing the maps to favor Republicans
that gavel's
along party lines.
Anna, I need you to find that gavel online.
Wednesday, advancing the legislation to Texas's Republican-controlled Senate, where its approval is all but guaranteed. This rare instance of mid-decade redistricting came at the behest of President Trump. Its passage was held up for weeks after more than 50 Democratic lawmakers fled Texas to deny Republicans...
So hold on. More than 50? Okay, so it does look like all of the Democrats did vote against it. Which means they had a veto-proof majority. Which means all the Democrats had to do was not be there, and they couldn't even fucking do that. Unbelievable.
Republicans' quorum for a vote. They returned to Austin this week amidst threats by Republican leaders to have them arrested or removed from office and replaced. Houston.
How can you remove them from office by standing their ground and actually abiding by their oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and because they're state legislators of Texas. They are literally doing their jobs by not allowing them to do tyrannical bullshit. Are you fucking kidding me? Wow.
John Rosenthal said he and fellow Democrats will sue to block the gerrymandered map once it's signed into law by the Republican Governor Greg Abbott.
It's not just a power grab. It's the fact
Unbelievable.
because they're going to lose, they want to pick up more votes, but it's the way they're going about it by dismantling black and brown districts. And let's face it, this is a racist power grab that especially goes after our African American representatives in Congress.
A federal appeals court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to revoke temporary protected status for 60,000 people from Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua.
Again, remember how I said judges and Supreme Court justices were also going to be held accountable for treason, for human rights violations, for violating the Constitution and all that? It's because of shit like this. The 14th Amendment protects all human beings in the United States of America, whether they are citizens or not, whether they're legally here or not. The 14th Amendment guarantees due process to everyone within our borders. And the Supreme Court has repeatedly violated the 14th Amendment by giving this administration free rein to terrorize them. So no, they will 100% get the fucking guillotine. When all's said and done, they're getting it.
Immigrant rights advocates warn the decision could lead to the deportation of families who've lived lawfully in the United States for decades. In other immigration news, New York lawmakers have condemned the Trump administration for deporting a 6-year-old New York elementary school student. The girl and her mother were detained at an ICE check-in last week, then deported to Ecuador Tuesday. The girl's elementary school principal had urged ICE to halt the deportation, saying her, quote, unexpected removal will cause significant disruption to her learning and will likely have a deep emotional impact on her classmates and our entire school community, unquote.
Which they don't fucking care about. Trying to appeal to the morality and ethics and trying to evoke sympathy from these terrorists is literally like trying to evoke the sympathy and empathy of terrorists, because that's what they are. They are terrorists. And what is terrorism? Actions, usually in the form of violence, taken for political reasons. Okay? So let's get Webster's definition. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation. I didn't realize it also included intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. What could be more definitive of terrorism than deporting a 6-year-old, a goddamn kindergartner, by a federal institution? That is terrorism. It's unlawful because it violates the 14th Amendment. So, it's violence, it's intimidation against civilians in the pursuit of a political aim. It meets every single criteria of the definition of terrorism. And, of course, I'm not on the shit.
Could lead to the deportation of families who've lived lawfully in the United States, then deported to Ecuador Tuesday. The girl's elementary school principal had urged. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, federal immigration agents tackled and zip-tied a protester outside San Francisco's ICE office on Wednesday. Officers also pepper-sprayed a number of people, including a journalist. In Washington, D.C., Vice President J.D.
So they're still acting the fool in California.
Trump advisor Stephen Miller were repeatedly booed and heckled Wednesday as they visited National Guard troops stationed at Union Station. Some in the crowd chanted, "From D.C. to Palestine, occupation is a crime." This comes as the National Guard's expanding its presence in the nation's capital after 6 Republican governors deployed troops to support Trump's takeover of the D.C. police.
I would be embarrassed to put on my uniform, pack my fucking go bags, my duffel, and get on a plane or bus to go to DC to terrorize civilians. I would be embarrassed. Also, I would refuse. I mean, I'm going to be very honest here. I would flat out refuse. I was active duty. And to the point. Like, I'm not joking when I say I was active duty. Right? Nanor. Air Force. Oh, I don't have my badge. Oh. Was this one of my newer uniforms and I forgot to put my badge on it? And you see those stripes? NCO. Staff Sergeant in the Air Force. This uniform serves the American people, defends the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And last I checked, the enemies that are both foreign and domestic are the ones violating the Constitution. And people who are outraged in DC are not the enemies. They are the people who needed to be protected and defended. So, if I received that order, I would burn that order, or, no, I would burn that order, but I would go on the news first, in full uniform, and be like, hey, by the way, I'm active duty, I was ordered to go to DC, I want to dissent, and I want to do it publicly, put me on air. And then I would light that shit on fire. Because I am not about to put this uniform on and then terrorize my fellow countrymen. So I'm gonna hang that up. I was gonna just chuck it on the ground. But, you know. And what is this narrative that people are feeling so good about dining out in DC? I don't fucking know, man. I really don't know. It just kills me that, this is happening in America, and that there are so many uniformed personnel that, can without any guilt or loss of conscience, put on their uniform and march through the streets of DC and think they're serving their country. Yeah, that was the idea. It was actually supposed to blend in a little bit better than it is. Right? But it's not. So I think I do have another green screen that I could drape over it, but I'm not that pressed about it. It's mostly for this background, so that it's less distracting to have the gaming chair, right? Especially when I'm leaning around and then there's like this another chair and then this chair. It's distracting. So that's the main reason why it's here, is for this. But all of which is to say, the president is going on patrol around DC tonight, but because DC is so dangerous that our out-of-shit ancient president can be out there. Oh, out of shape. Gotcha. Well, and that's the thing too, right? If the city were that dangerous that the military had to patrol those streets, no one would allow the president to leave the White House. Or he would have been relocated from the White House to a different, more secure location, like a military base, such as Andrews, or, God, if it was even that bad, oh, what was the mountain? Well, Stargate SG-1, I forget. So, alright. Sorry. Trying to jump between screens here and something popped out at me. Right, he doesn't even go out when it rains. He's been walking on the roof. People are saying, jump to a flip! Oh, wait, no. Jump to a flip! So, yeah, no, it's all sorts of something going on there. But it really irks me to see the military in our nation's capital terrorizing citizens when I served, and I meant that shit. I mean, I still... did I get rid of... I think I closed that tab because I didn't think I would need the oath of enlistment that often, but as it turns out. So anyway. That's nuts. NORAD. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yes.
President Trump's called on Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to resign in his latest attack on the Fed's independence. Cook, who's the first black woman to ever serve as a Fed governor, has rejected Trump's call, saying she won't be bullied into stepping down. Trump has also repeatedly threatened to fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Trump's threat against Cook came after a Trump official alleged she once committed mortgage fraud by claiming 2 properties to be her primary residence. Another federal judge has rejected the Justice Department's request to unseal grand jury testimony related to the Jeffrey Epstein.
Wow! The judiciary in cahoots with the legislative and the executive branches from not releasing the Epstein list. Shocking. Shocking that they are all in cahoots.
Sex trafficking case. Judge Richard Berman wrote, quote, "The government is the logical party to make comprehensive disclosure to the public of the Epstein files," unquote. St. Charles, Missouri has
exactly,
become the
pop culture,
latest
exactly.
community to fight off plans to build a massive AI data center. The developer of the project withdrew the plans this week amidst growing community opposition to the secretive project.
As they should have.
The community never even learned which company was behind the proposal. And police in Redmond, Washington, arrested 18 people at a protest encampment at Microsoft's headquarters Wednesday. The protest was organized by the group No Azure for Apartheid, which is made up of current and former Microsoft workers opposed to Microsoft's work with the Israeli military.
Good.
Microsoft provides AI and cloud technology used by Israeli forces in Gaza. Microsoft has also helped Israel carry out mass surveillance of Palestinians. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!
I mean, she blasted them off there towards the end, but holy crap. So, we got regular corruption. We have genocide being wrapped in reorganization. And finally, there's some pushback from that at least, but yikes. Most of these headlines were pretty fucking disturbing, to say the least. So yeah, that was just some of the high headlines as it stands this week. And I honestly I didn't know about the Microsoft one. You're right, pop culture, about the Democrat who was held hostage in Texas. Yeah, she was threatened by Newsom, or not by Newsom. She was threatened by Texans, the Republicans, for trying to reach out to Newsom. And, of course, then all of that posturing and grandstanding ended up in that gerrymandering being passed anyway. Right. No, that whole scenario just reeked of the slave era. It just did. Of slave masters terrorizing their slaves. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Okay. Oh, I was right. I didn't want to embarrass myself by saying Maduro for Venezuela, because I'm getting confused. Is it Bolsonaro then, who's the Brazilian piece of shit, and Maduro is the Venezuelan? Okay, but is Maduro a fascist, or is he the socialist? That's where I'm getting confused. If Maduro is a piece of shit or not. I get that he's the president. Okay, socialist. So Maduro, good guy. Bolsonaro, bad guy, but also not currently in charge of Brazil. All right. Foreign policy gets tricky, folks. A lot of it going around. But he's not a PO. Okay, fair enough. All right, so let's go with
all right, this feels almost
video
illegal
next.
to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed.
3 U.S. destroyers carrying 4,000 Marines are heading in the direction of Venezuela. According to the White House, the mission is to target drug cartels that traffic narcotics to the United States.
Yeah, that's why they're doing photo ops in dress whites.
Raised the reward for helping to apprehend Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro to $50 million.
Hold on, what was this about 50 million?
Narcotics to the United States. The move comes just days after President Trump raised the reward for helping to apprehend Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro to $50 million.
Hold on. Maduro is the president of Venezuela, and Trump put a fucking bounty on this man of $50 million? Did I hear that correctly? What? Are you fucking serious? And he's now sending 4,000 Marines to Venezuela. How is that not in any way, form, or fashion being construed as an act of war? As a literal act of war. You're threatening the duly elected president of another country, and you're sending 4,000 troops into that country. Are you fucking kidding me? I see the potato chip bag money incident led to the one who did that being suspended. I guess we have the broken clock being right. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there. But this is nuts. And Maduro announced a bounty on Trump for being okay. So that might be a tit for tat. But still, why would Maduro even allow these 4,000 Marines into his country then? That's what I'm not understanding. Oh, wait. He's not. He's literally mobilizing a militia. The current mayor's advisor. See, you got pop culture. You need to use the real words because you confuse the shit out of me when you use your metaphors. So Maduro did it as retaliation. So Trump put a bounty on Maduro. Maduro then put a bounty on Trump. Now Trump is sending 4,000 Marines to Venezuela, which is, again, an act of war. By any definition, it's an act of war, okay? And now he's responding with a militia.
In response, Maduro is mobilizing 4.5 million militiamen and...
4.5 million! 4.5 million! Damn! I'll see your 4,000 Marines and raise you what? What even is the population of Venezuela? Good Lord. Bro, he just activated 1/7 of his, a little over 1/7 of the entire population of Venezuela, as a militia. He just got 1/7 of the population. And if you really think about it, right? Any given population has 1/3 18 and under, 1/3 elderly, and then 1/3 in the middle, right? That's how that kind of breaks up. Or 20 and 20, and then that would be 60, right? So what's 60% of 28? I don't really feel like doing the math. Although I think I just did the math, but still. 28 times 0.6 is 16.8. And he just galvanized 4.5 million. So 4.5 divided by 16.8 is over 25% of the able-bodied population of Venezuela. That would be the equivalent of raising 75 million militia in America. That's nuts. That is a giant middle finger to the Trump administration. Go Maduro, go Venezuela. The bounty on Maduro was so stupid, we all know where he is. He's in Caracas. He's not hiding. Right. And Colombia is ready to back Venezuela. So we're going to have a Latin American conflict, which we haven't actually had. We haven't had a real conflict with Latin America. All we've really ever done is destabilize those countries. Aside from the Mexico-American War, that was the only time we have fought with Latin America. A Yosemite National Park ranger has been fired, and others could face charges after a massive transgender pride flag was hung from El Capitan earlier this year. Shannon S.J. Jocelyn, a bat biologist, received a termination letter last week citing unacceptable conduct. Again, firing her violates the 14th Amendment. It's not just cause. There's a Breaking Points video about this. Trump is drawing plans to invade Mexico too. What the fuck? Is the plan... Am I not in this window? Okay. Is the plan... Is Trump really just trying to start as many international conflicts as possible to distract from both the Epstein files and the fact that he is trying to become a despot, and try and use the warfare and the aggression and all this other shit to justify 3 or more terms? Because he's got another thing coming. I am entering into Congress at the latest in 2027. And the presidency at the latest in 2029. That motherfucker, I'm going to build the most beautiful golden guillotine that you have ever seen. It'll be golden and beautiful, and you'll never have seen anything like it. And I'm shoving his head in it. That's how that's going to go. And distracting from participation in drug trafficking, human trafficking, child sex trafficking, and trying to bring back slavery. Jesus fucking Christ.
Women throughout the country.
Que el mundo lo sepa.
Let the world know, let the empires know, that today more than ever, Venezuela can defend itself.
Absolutely it can. It just galvanized a quarter of its able-bodied population.
While some say Trump is just trying to intimidate oil-rich Venezuela's government, Maduro has grounded all drones for 30 days, an indication that he might be expecting an attack from the air rather than sea. President Trump hasn't ruled out anything.
Yeah,
says his
I'm pretty certain most of Latin America will protect Venezuela from invasion.
Power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. The Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. In Maduro, it is the view of this administration, is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this cartel who has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into the country.
Wow. So she said, with the full weight of law, as in, it is the view of this administration that Maduro is the head of a cartel and not the lawful president. There's no denying that. There's no walking that back. There's no, I didn't say that. I didn't. The position of the United States of America is that Maduro, a duly elected president of Venezuela, is instead not duly elected president of Venezuela and the head of a cartel. Again, wars have been fought for significantly less. Now, sure, Venezuela not declaring war against the United States, so on and so forth, is being mature against an idiot in chief. But Jesus Christ, the brazenness of this administration and the willingness to just sacrifice alliances and diplomatic relations is insane. Wow. That was wild.
This administration is not a legitimate president in power to stop drugs from flooding into...
An indication that he might be expecting an attack from the air rather than sea. President Trump hasn't ruled out anything, says his spokesperson.
He's prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those...
By the way, even if you wanted to use the military to stop cartels in another country, you still can't do that unless that country gives you permission. Otherwise, it's literally an invasion. Otherwise known as an act of war.
responsible to justice. The Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. In Maduro, it is the view of this administration, is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this cartel who has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into the country.
Bruh, you cannot say that. That is scorched earth severance of diplomatic relations with another country and is grounds for conflict and the severing of trade, of diplomatic relations, of military agreements, peace, all of it. Maduro would have every single right to sink every single one of those ships and to massacre the Marines as soon as they enter their sovereign waters or airspace. What the fuck? I don't actually know if this background is more appropriate or this background is more appropriate. I actually don't know which one is more appropriate to be outraged at what we just heard. If you are saying from this office that another country's leader is not legitimate, calling them a regime and the head of a cartel, that is law. That is the weight of the nation. That is a declaration. Now, sure, Congress is the one that can declare war and all that, but as we have discovered since 9/11, the president can issue orders partially mobilizing the military for short-term military activities. And that has been broadly expanded ever since. You cannot say that. There are consequences for saying that, and he's too fucking stupid or ignorant or both to know that. Wow. This administration is unhinged. Obviously he made it up, and they think that Guaido, the guy that the U.S. tried to install, is the legitimate president, even though he was never elected to anything, and he's extremely unpopular. Oh, that was that guy. Yeah, he's not even mentioned anymore, because didn't he get thrown in prison for trying to coup Venezuela? They may get the drugs, but they'll never take our genocide. Yeah, it's going to be both. Oh, he might have fled to the U.S. Either way, he's not in Venezuela, causing issues. And Russia is backing Venezuela, and I'm sure China will back Venezuela. I'm pretty sure NATO will back Venezuela, because there's no fucking way that anybody should allow this to happen. And South America isn't going to allow this to happen. Good grief. Every single day is more insane than the last. NATO calls Trump daddy. Yeah. I think, well, I mean, at this point, it is so blatantly obvious that this administration is dragging us into just the mud in the worst ways possible, into conflicts, into diplomatic insolvency. Like, why do Americans not see the Nazism that this administration is perpetrating? I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. This is insane. This is beyond insane. And they say, you're right. He makes peace by threatening heads of state whenever they disagree with him.
The last time the U.S. government used drug trafficking as a rationale to overthrow a regional government was in 1989 in Panama.
In some way, it can help Maduro. I mean, he can say, look, the threat is real. It's not just propaganda. Here are the Americans. Here are the ships. So let's close ranks behind the government.
Even countries that have no love for Maduro are concerned.
Yeah.
President Trump's vow to send warships to the Caribbean and elsewhere in Latin America to stop the flow of drugs to the United States is being seen as a threat to more than just Venezuela.
Yes.
It could apply to many, many countries
Yes.
in this region. And they say that today it may be Venezuela, tomorrow it could be any one of them.
Right. Now, I don't exactly know where Venezuela is on the map. Fuck AI. So Venezuela, that's not where I was thinking of Argentina. I'm glad I didn't say that out loud. Actually, I was thinking of Chile. I thought it was at the bottom tip of South America. So good that I didn't say that out loud. Venezuela is actually one of the northernmost countries. Technically, Colombia, it has land at the northernmost tip of South America, but technically, for the majority of the country, it would be Venezuela. And that's what you were saying. He's in Caracas, which is on the beach, is a coastal city. No, it's not. It is actually landlocked. Katia Lamar is actually what's coastal, but Caracas is like 5 seconds away from the coast. And then you got the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, and Florida. So yeah, this is not good. This is just not good in any capacity. And yeah, all of the drug trafficking that is allegedly going on is right there in that Central America, the countries between Mexico and Colombia, which includes Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, of course El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, and Cuba, of course, Haiti, Dominican Republic, already said that, Colombia, and then, of course, since it's the Caribbean, it's just a short jaunt to Guyana, Suriname, and French Guinea. So, yeah, all of the northern countries of South America plus Central America are now being threatened by the United States. Oh, and the Bahamas. And the Caicos Island. Holy shit, there's just so much shit here. Cayman Islands, Jamaica. So much shit that is being threatened by this idiotic grandstanding. One of the South American leaders said something about how Americans are the ones buying drugs, and that's why they're sex trafficking. Exactly. You can't traffic drugs into America if Americans aren't buying the drugs. That's how that fucking works. And it also infuriates the shit out of me that they are calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Why isn't it letting me click to address it? I want to report a data problem, motherfucker. Oh, so it only lets you address land masses. Probably because so many people were spamming Google to say that's not the Gulf of America, it's the Gulf of Mexico. Fucking sociopathy. Alright, sorry, now I'm getting lost in the sauce here with my maps. Why? Anyway, sorry. Just insane. People had way more of a backbone in 92. They saw campaign pledges were lied about. They said, nah, you're out for 93 to 97. Now they tell you they're doing well and they have a neck choke on your need to know the truth. When it was Bush, they saw him for who he was. But now with this drug trafficking stuff again, he's giving drugs to countries and they believe what he tells them. Right, the Iran-Contra affair. Again, if any of this shit made sense, it wouldn't be happening. If the American people could just pay the fuck attention, you wouldn't have these problems. You just straight up wouldn't. because the American people would be able to discern fact from fiction, corruption from not corruption. And instead, we have what we have.
Many are wondering why President Trump has chosen to implement such an aggressive move in the United States.
Because he doesn't want to go to prison due to Epstein.
He portrays himself as a global peacemaker. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Santiago.
So again, talk about disgracing the uniform. The captain of those ships, a full-bird colonel, should be summarily discharged, and every single sailor who agreed and stayed on the ship to go to Venezuela to threaten a country and a president should all be dishonorably discharged. Period. Dot. End of story. Anna, write down on today's date 3 naval vessels and the 4,000 Marines operating them need to be dishonorably discharged from the Marines, because this is a gross violation of military ethics and law. I know that Iran-Contra exists and happened. I don't know what it all necessarily entails. To be fair, my knowledge in politics is policy-based and holding criminals accountable, not necessarily world history. Jesus Christ. We got 41. Yeah, let's just move on, I guess.
If you're here in the area and are looking for a solution to cool your home, then this is hands down the system you need to be looking.
Welcome back.
Democrats in the Texas House of Representatives had delayed this vote for as long as they could.
For as long as they could? For as long as they could? Really? 2 weeks is as long as they could? Fuck out of here.
At one point leaving the state for 2 weeks to prevent a debate. But eventually Republicans, who hold a majority, passed the measure they openly admit is designed to give their party 5 extra seats.
That is blatant election tampering. That is blatantly election fraud. Like, they are openly admitting that the redistricting is to garner more seats, which is corruption. There are 50,000 different words to describe what they did. Several of those 50,000 words are legal terms. And those legal terms all stipulate you can't do that. And they're doing it anyway because Texas, because racism, because of whatever. This is bullshit.
Midterm elections.
The votes today have followed the Supreme Court, which is partisanship, preferential. And yes, we have a congressional plan. What's the difference to the whole world listening? Republicans support it, Democrats do not.
The Democrats say the plan falls afoul of federal civil rights legislation, and they intend to sue.
These maps will prevent Black and brown individuals from selecting the candidate of their choice because they're cracking and packing these districts. They are splitting them up, and they're not allowing communities that have shared interests to vote for the candidate of their choice.
Next year's congressional midterm elections.
Now, here's the thing about districting and gerrymandering. Here's the thing about that. They are only as red or as blue as the people who vote in them make them, right? But historically, the largest voting bloc did not vote. So the funniest thing could happen. In each of these gerrymandered districts, the does not vote crowd could turn out in full force and just vote independent. Or the opposite of whatever those districts are. Like, just because it is a gerrymandered district doesn't mean it has to stay gerrymandered. That's where organization, grassroots efforts, and getting out the vote, and I don't know, being actually physically present in the districts would make a huge fucking difference. So if they try this shit in Ohio, which they are, I am fairly certain they are trying this in Ohio, I'm going to run for Republican anyway. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to focus on getting out the vote, knocking on doors, putting eyeballs on our constituents, and earning their trust, rather than just assuming, because I'm a white male running in the Republican primary, that they'll vote for me, which is what the Democrats do in blue districts. They are so presumptive that they're going to get the black and brown vote that they don't even try fighting for it, other than with these antics of like, can't stay away longer than 2 weeks. That's bullshit. You could have gone to Europe for the next 6 months. You guys are wealthy. You have the resources. The DNC certainly does. They got billionaire donors. They could have funded a 4-month vacation anywhere to prevent this from happening if they were serious about it. Or they could be putting all those resources into, again, driving votes for Democrats, earning the trust of the Texans that live in those areas. But instead, they're like, oh, this is terrible, this is corrupt, and we're not going to do anything about it. That's insane! And again, I don't know if this is more appropriate or this. I'm beginning to think this is too red. Or maybe it's just because I'm trying to talk about U.S. politics and this doesn't have the same aura of U.S. as this does. But like, Jesus Christ! Again, I don't support the Democrats. I don't think the Democrats are a worthy cause to fight for. I'm not. But they're not even pretending to fight back. 2 weeks and they capitulate? They're not going to get out the vote. They're not going to organize in those districts. They're just going to roll over and take it and lose 5 seats? Why would anybody vote for them? The fucking cowards. Right, they erased Jasmine Crockett's district in Texas. And of course all the Democrats are saying, well, that they're going to take her seat but not her career. Yes, they're going to take her career. What is she going to do? Move to another state and carpetbag? Is she going to get elected as a state representative? And the second she's no longer a congresswoman, she is irrelevant. And that's the fucking point. Unless she decides to turn into Nina Turner and go on a bunch of book tours and stumping grounds and whatever else, stumping for other people, but then she would have to have been nationally relevant to begin with, which she isn't. Hate to break it to her. Whoa, I guess I missed some of the upstairs conversation. You guys are all younger than me, and you know, oh wait, that was that. Yeah, but these boomers were grown-ups when it happened. It was all over the news. I was in elementary school and I remember. Fair enough. Bill Barr to thank for that. And maybe that's why. Bill Barr. It's the fairness doctrine too. They tell you you're not seeing what you see. That is also true. Who got rid of the fairness doctrine? Reagan. Considering that what people vote for get rejected anyway, even turning out may not be enough, especially with closing down voter ID places and pushing it further down the road so they can have the necessary stuff to vote. Plus, trying to make mail-in voter ballots illegal. Like, disenfranchising the voting bloc in the first place, and then denying the votes in the second place, and then rigging the elections regardless. And again, it's not like the Democrats couldn't choose to run in the Republican primary. Do you see where I'm going? Because I said that when I ran for DNC chair. We're going to have to reclaim our spaces by primarying Republicans because people will ignore us outright simply because we ran in the Republican primary. Again, I'm not advocating for the Democrats. They're a lost cause. But like, all of the fighting that they could do, all of the resistance that they could be doing is defunct, which is why we are working tirelessly to achieve this goal and building a platform, raising the finances to build the infrastructure necessary to do the things that we are talking about on stream. I'm not Hassan, who's a sexy, muscular man in a bathtub making millions of dollars. I am some schmuck with a cigar and a hat and this sleek keffiyeh fighting for the future of this nation, because God damn it, I'll be damned if I live through World War II, Nazi Germany, slavery, the suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, LGBTQ movement, the Stonewall riots, and everything else under the sun that we have already laid to rest, all in the same goddamn year. Fuck that. I want to go home sit on my ass and watch TV, play PlayStation 5. Maybe be social. Flirt with a pretty girl at the bar, get shot down horrifically, and then drown my sorrows in karaoke. That's what I should be doing with my time. But instead, no. Me and the rest of the millennials and Gen Zs have to focus on preventing fascism from taking over the country. That's insane. This is all deliberate because they know turnout against them must be defeated. True. People would have donated to them for that. They would have. I'm pretending your anger made the background red. Oh, actually, I kind of feel like the music should be a little louder, but that's okay. I'll figure that out later. They're obviously putting faith in people being smart enough to help them out by just rejecting this control freak stuff. What they miss is that people see both as the same. Because the Democrats are the same. And feckless cowards. It probably is Bill Burr, not Bill Barr. I think Bill Barr is the guy who was the former AG for Trump. Imagine if a rule were put in place that if you run and you're connected to corruption, you get banned from running. We need a litmus test. Hey, fun fact! In my platform, it's ethics. It's this page right here. That is literally one of our policy positions. That if you're a corrupt piece of shit, you can't run for office and you immediately go to prison. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go straight to prison. Get in a bath with bubbles then. Fair. Maybe, I'll just wear the fake muscle suit. That's fine. The time of having primaries and elections filled by pure candidates is long past due. We can take you to Dr. Miami and get your body done. Hey, never mind fundraising the revolution. Let's just get me a BBL and fake abs. Let's go. We do need a litmus test so nobody is messing with stuff. No, and that's exactly what this is. That link that I shared. So. Batshit fuckery. I don't need a BBL? Yeah, I guess not. That ass, though. That's America's ass.
Elections are expected to be very close, and for the White House, there's much at stake. If the Republicans lose the House of Representatives, Democrats will have free rein to investigate the Trump administration, subpoena witnesses, and perhaps even threaten impeachment. The president has spearheaded a strategy to get Republican states to...
Well, that would require the Democrats to have a spine enough to do that in the first place, which they don't.
Trump posting this week that Texas Republicans need to help us win the 2026 midterm elections and pass their new bill as is for the one big, beautiful congressional map. As a result, Democrat-controlled states say they'll also redistrict in a nakedly partisan manner to help their party's chances of taking the House. The governor of California has taken the lead. His redistricting plan is also intended to give the Democrats 5 extra...
Now, see, I don't agree that the Democrats should gerrymander their districts either. But at the same time, at least that's something. I mean, they're being corrupt instead of, earning the trust and support of the American people. They're choosing corruption, which again makes them part of the problem. But, go off, queens, go off, kings. Let's just everybody gerrymander the shit so that it's pure red and pure blue. And I think if that were the case, what would the electoral map look like if every district that could be gerrymandered were? I guess nobody did that math yet. Or did those maps. But the states that are trying to do so are California, Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, Florida, shocking, Illinois, New York, Maryland, which already has 7-1. And that's it so far. And of those, it would be New York, Maryland, Illinois, and California would be for pro-Democrats, where they could gain up to 9. Let's see. 3, so total of 12, total of 19, 20. So the Democrats could potentially gain 20 based on the ones that are out here. And the Republicans could potentially gain 10, 12, 17 plus Texas's 5, which would be 22. So even if the Democratic states completely gerrymandered and the Republican states completely gerrymandered, Republicans would still be up. So even playing the game of corruption is not in the favor of Democrats, because there isn't enough. The states that are blue are so bright blue that gerrymandering them further doesn't actually make a difference. That's the whole fucking point. That's the rub. It's the Republicans that have more to gain, which is the point, which is the corruption, which is what needs to be held accountable. But instead, all of these Supreme Courts at the state level are like, yeah, go for it, fam. And nobody else is getting in the way of it because, again, the Supreme Court is already partisan. It's a race to the bottom. Exactly. All we're going to get, which has gone on far too long, ad nauseum, this whole, oh wow, the party in power is bad, let's restore it to the other party. Night mode, because I have Twitch up here, it makes it look that much darker. So the question is, which looks better? This or this? This or this? Which one's better, folks? 1, 2. 1, 2. I'm awaiting your feedback.
Extra seats in the midterms, but he faces an extra hurdle. It will have to be approved in a state referendum in November.
What we're doing neutralizes what's happening in Texas. People have this chance with this ballot.
It actually doesn't.
To the rule of law, stand up for co-equal branches of government.
Does this motherfucker have the RFK Jr. issue? Because he's sounding a little scratchy. And even when I sound scratchy, I don't sound that bad. Alright. So, Anna is the only one that voted, so she wins. Alright, so we'll turn dark theme off. Bam! Let there be light. Okay. It's just a little blinding now when I look to my left, but that's fine. It's for the people. I just found out that Trey Parker, co-creator of South Park, even when parodying Captain Hairplugs in some way on the show, has a chummy relationship with them playing Dungeons and Dragons. So who's Captain Hairplugs? Is that Elon Musk? Use the names! Alright. It's 8:30, so we're halfway through already, and we are nowhere close to halfway through this list. So let's speed this up a bit.
And Doug.
Whoever's in charge of this stream needs to do better at pacing.
The Supreme Court will decide in the fall whether to take up a case seeking to overturn the same-sex marriage ruling. Former Kentucky County Clerk
this bitch
wants the Supreme Court to hear.
And yes, I said bitch.
She was jailed for 6
Fuck
days
that bitch.
for refusing to issue a marriage license to a gay couple on religious grounds.
So remember how we said that once Roe v. Wade goes out the window, and once you stack the courts for conservatives, and once the conservatives continue to back, all of the racist bullshit the Republicans have been trying to do, that one of the things that would be on the chopping block would be healthcare and Social Security, and that's already been on the chopping block. And then after that, it would be, civil rights, which that's already on the chopping block, which the Supreme Court has failed to uphold every single time it's come before them. And then after that...
I'll briefly just say that the reason we got in touch with Dr. Mebane was because we were a little confused at why we were seeing some things in the data, and that we knew that there were these experts out there, including in the United States. And so we wanted to reach out to him to confirm that our analysis was not totally off base. We wanted his expert eyes. And he was very generous, deeply cares about elections, has spoken internationally regarding, his method.
Why would this excerpt with this title be chosen. She hasn't said shit about anything other than this guy is the guy. Fucking A. Election Truth Alliance, do better. Be better. Do better with your clips, you fucking assholes. So this is the thing. Hamas agrees to latest Gaza ceasefire proposal, but says that there is no ceasefire negotiations going on at the present time. So, like, it's difficult to even want to watch these because they're contradictory. What is this about?
On stage, Pussy Riot member Maria Alyokina tells her story of punk protests in Moscow, 2 years in prison, and exile from Russia.
Wow.
It's a multimedia performance with a captive audience, but Maria isn't here to entertain. She wants to galvanize people, to warn them what happened in her country could happen in theirs.
I think this story can be useful for people. Doesn't matter who they are. They shouldn't be like professional activists or politically engaged. It's not necessary to do street actions immediately because many people afraid, don't know how to do, not prepared, but to have a desire.
Okay, so Pussy Riot, she's one of the activists and she's gone through a whole lot of shit for standing her ground. Okay, that's not what I thought this video was going to be about, but hey, good for her.
Same old phone.
Now, this is what I wanted to watch yesterday, but we ran out of time. Germany not being fascist. That's what we want to see more of. And finally, we can skip the fucking
One
ad.
genocide doesn't justify another. This banner sums up what many protesters here think about Germany's support for Israel. After 22 months, are they now being heard?
Germany is Israel's second largest supplier of weapons after the
second largest supplier of weapons? Jesus Christ.
United States. While naval corvettes and submarines don't fall under the temporary ban, engines and gearboxes for Israeli tanks do. Equipment produced by this
So wait, Germany will send them ships, but just not tanks and gearboxes?
We asked Rank to talk to us, but they didn't reply. We did talk to the Left Party, which holds 64 seats here in Parliament, and they are not impressed by the government's shift.
I think there's not really a shift, because I think it's very important to know that he did not ban all exports. He's just saying that there will be no new permissions for sales to Israel.
Right, which is a non-binding anything.
Be more significant. This latest poll here shows that now only 31% thinks that Germany has a historic responsibility towards Israel. 62% doesn't agree. So, what made them change their minds? Let's ask.
As time went on, I thought this is going too far. Gaza was already completely destroyed.
It was too far. Granted, everybody always refers to October 7th, but October 7th and then the 8th, how Israel responded was way too fucking far. They went from 0 to invasion the very next fucking day. That was immediately too far. They immediately started attacking civilian centers, immediately started destroying hospitals and universities. Like, October 8th was gloves off, veil lifted, not even pretending that this was to eradicate the Palestinian people. But go off, Queen.
And then the aid deliveries were stopped.
We should forget about our special responsibility towards Israel as long as this government is in power.
Yes.
We're traveling outside of Berlin to meet with former Ambassador Martin Kobler. He was based in Palestine in the 1990s, but is now retired. In a letter with 12 other former ambassadors, he pleaded to the government to increase its pressure on Israel. And you think the German government in the last 22 months made a mistake defending Israel at all costs?
Not at the beginning. I've seen the
not at the beginning? Bro! See, this is what I hate about shitlibs. Shitlibs are shitlibs no matter what country they're in.
Israel has, through this Hamas attack, but this does not justify the reaction. Members of the Israeli government said very clearly that the Palestinian population in Gaza have to disappear.
But they said that quite in the beginning.
Yes, they said it.
So this is where Germany should have intervened, basically, or stopped supporting Israel?
We should have listened, I think, yes, more carefully to what they say. We should have taken it more seriously, and we should have acted much earlier.
Yes!
Germany's historic guilt.
But that's the thing. We're trying, all of these Western countries, all of these Western powers are trying to say, we should have done better, we should have realized sooner. You can act now, because guess what? You're still not acting now. That's the fucking problem. You knew better. You're saying you should have done more, you should have done it sooner, you should have done it faster. And that you're saying that what's happening now is really, really, really bad, and you're still not doing anything about it. So in 20 or 30 years, you can rewrite history and say, we didn't know. Like, what fucking world do you think we live in? How stupid do you think the people are? How much are you going to gaslight us? Because I can assure you, I'm not the only one in the world that is doing streams like this, who is actively pursuing political office at the highest levels of government. I know for a fact I am not the only one in my own country doing these things. So I am damn certain there's the German equivalent, the Netherlands equivalent, the French equivalent, the Spanish equivalent, all doing the same thing, building a platform to get into the federal government, to run for president or prime minister or whatever the fuck they call it in other countries. I know I'm not alone. In my generation of leadership that will assume office is going to bury each and every single one of these motherfuckers and do everything in our possible power to make amends to Palestine and all the victims of imperialism. I know I'm not alone. I might be one of the only ones that succeed, but I know I'm not alone. And it's not enough.
And Israel still hangs heavily here in Berlin. But increasingly, Germans say that this historic responsibility doesn't mean supporting Israel committing genocide.
Correct.
Stefan, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
German guilt does not translate into allowing Israel to commit genocide. Facts. Okay. So now we're in the science side of things. So I get that these are long videos, so hold on a second. Before we jump into another long video, oh, this is actually happy news. Is this one happy? Let's find out.
When it came time to take things to the next level, I knew that I had to make a website. And
Basil has lost nearly everything he created.
All right, hold on a second. If this is actually a happy one, we'll continue playing it. Why does America now always want peace with the wrong people, Putin and Netanyahu? Well, first of all, America should want peace with any country, regardless of how evil their leadership are. That's the first thing. The second thing is, war is not the solution to getting bad people in countries out of power. It should be reliance upon the International Criminal Court system, right? The ICC. But if America is one of the veto power countries that can get in the way of justice being served, and Russia is one of the veto countries that could get in the way of justice being served, then the international criminal courts are useless. And that's the problem.
Yet, he continues to paint, guiding children and helping them transform the burden of war into color and expression. In Gaza, studios, galleries, museums, and cultural heritage have been destroyed. Basil found a lifeline in an online platform dedicated to preserving Palestinian art.
I was contacted by the Art Zone platform, seeking to archive our work lost in the war. Some paintings depicted the realities of the First Intifada, the advent of the Palestinian Authority, the wars waged upon Gaza. This platform is attempting to preserve these works. Today, all these works have been lost under the rubble.
Artist May Murad sees art as resistance against the systematic...
It is. And historically, art and music have always been the the message, the tool, the weapon of the resistance. So, 100%.
Erasure of Palestinian identity. She left Gaza in 2018.
Oh shit. Sensitive content. The picture. That's a fucking statement.
And now lives in France. She lost all her paintings there. May says it's like losing part of her soul. But Art Zone Palestine is helping to ensure her work endures.
Most of our artworks were destroyed in the war, although it is never more important than the loss
Oh, so
of
she's
lives.
in Paris. Okay,
My
I see.
mother is using the destroyed artwork to make a fire to cook a meal that could save a human life.
Imagine that. You're using your nation's culture, history, just great works so that you can survive. We see it all the time in dystopian movies like The Day After Tomorrow, where you have to burn books just to make a fire. And they were talking about, well, do we get rid of Goethe or Shakespeare or these great authors? And it's like, well, you could just use the New York Bar Association books encyclopedia and burn that shit because nobody fucking cares, right? But they don't have the choice to sift through the rubble and pick and choose which books they need to burn to create fire so they can cook food and feed their families. One, they don't even have food. They're being starved systemically. Two, everything's already in rubble, so anything that you can use, you gotta use. And three, even if you did try and hold on to the journal, to the book, to the artwork, at some point you become desperate enough to where that becomes an option. And that is how destructive and devastating and cruel and malevolent this genocide has been. How completely destructive. Even the Nazi Holocaust wasn't this complete in its destruction of Jewish history and culture and livelihoods as what is happening in Palestine by the Israelis.
This is the paradox of art and life, of memory and survival, which makes me more
She is very
committed to my
talented,
role
yes.
as an artist, to preserve our history and defy oblivion.
Art Zone Palestine is more than a digital archive. It is a lifeline for artists, a space where their art and experiences can be shared with the world.
Yeah, but these are kids drawing people starving and scraping together food and resources. These are
artworks that have
depressing.
been marginalized and neglected, as well as those exterminated by Zionist colonialism and occupation.
Finally, somebody said the words the way they needed to be said.
1,200 artworks by Gaza's artists whose works were destroyed by the Zionist enemy. We named this exhibition DNA to allow the reproduction of these works in more than one place in the world.
For Palestinian artists, the destruction of their work is not just the loss of something they've created. It's an attack on their identity. Through this
How long ago was this? 2 days ago? Okay.
initiative, they are restoring artwork.
Well, at least there are a
preserving
few
their legacy,
press members
and
still
breathing
alive in
new
Gaza
life
City.
into what was lost.
In Gaza, every stroke defies, every color remembers, and Palestinian artists continue to create to save their identity from erasure. Ibrahim Khalili, Al Jazeera, Gaza City, Palestine.
Well, that was mostly happy. I mean, mostly at least uplifting, and not just thoroughly soul-crushing. So we'll go with that. All right. Let's move up again. So it does look like we could talk a little bit about science and some of the tech and things that are happening. And then we can go into a little bit of conspiracy. Although it's not much of a conspiracy considering Trump and Elon Musk both were bragging publicly about rigging the election. So it's not much of a conspiracy if they're admitting it out loud. This one I haven't heard of, so that's interesting. So let's go into the science side here real quick.
If you were wondering if scientists are actually working on those crazy sci-fi...
So there's been a few articles and claims going around that we are getting closer to building warp drives. And the science of warp drives, which she is going to explain, is utilizing space, bending space, and propelling you forward rather than trying to achieve actual speeds exceeding the speed of light.
Ideas? They are. Apparently, we might be one step closer to building a warp drive. One of the problems the human body has with going high speeds isn't the speed itself, but the acceleration to get to it. The idea behind a warp drive is that instead of moving through space and getting crushed by it, space moves around us in a warp bubble. The problem is when we talk about building one, things like negative mass and negative energy comes up, which has never been observed in real life. However, researchers at the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory have possibly found a way to build a warp drive that works within the known laws of physics, and major science and tech magazines are calling this a breakthrough. Key was adding vectors and modifying the shell. They suggest a shell made of normal matter instead of dark matter or whatever movies say, all of which will amount to a lot of micromanaging of space that would require a ton of energy to initiate and maintain. Regardless of the breakthrough, we currently do not have the technology to physically build this thing.
All right, so science time. Now, I claim this title, 48th President of the United States of America, okay? They're talking about warp drives and lots of energy and using particles and this, that, and the other. But there's several things that you have to understand about traveling those vast distances. First, space is a vacuum. Second, all energy falls under the electromagnetic spectrum. Third, we've already achieved maglev travel, okay, using magnets and magnetic energy, for lack of a better word, to move things quickly and silently without needing a source of energy. Fourth, you can get your energy through high-powered lasers beaming into the sail, for a lack of a better word, and accelerating it to a fifth the speed of light or more, depending on the mass of depending on the mass of the object that you're trying to do, right? So there are many different ways to skin this cat, but what's being lost in all of this, right, is the idea that electromagnetism, that spectrum, you can literally use that to protect the physical thing. And, well, if it was that easy, they could just do it, and some guy on Twitch isn't gonna get a Nobel Prize in physics by just, talking out of his ass. I'm not talking out of my ass. It has been observed, right, that through electromagnetism, right, you can suspend things in a vacuum and manipulate it at ridiculously high speeds, regardless of the mass or the volume within. That's how you can trap antimatter and study it. It's also how the electron-hadron collider is able to collide the protons and the electrons that then creates matter and the antimatter, right? So we have particle accelerators, and that's kind of the step that we would need to go into in order to achieve this warp drive. But you would need to take the particle accelerator, which is usually like miles long, but in a loop, and condense it into, like, for lack of a better example, the Iron Man chest thingy, right? So that would be the science behind it. That would be the physics. That would be how you get your free energy to do the thing that it needs to do. But as long as, and to the point of creating a bubble that would preserve the material, right, the matter, and allow that to move freely through the vacuum of space without being necessarily impacted by inertia, is the way to solve this problem. It's the reason why high-speed rail can actually accelerate to, like, almost the speed of sound and not crush people, right? It's not that they just take off. They have suspension rigs within the chassis, the frame, connecting to the chassis, so that, what's a great, okay, so you're on a roller coaster and you're flipping your Coca-Cola in the thing, right? That liquid is staying there because of all of the forces against you, right? It's the same thing if you're in a car and you're flicking your cigar as you're driving at 80 miles per hour. You flick this up and it's going however fast it is, but it is moving because of the state of inertia. So all you have to do is maintain the inertia of the vessel, of the capsule, of where the people are, and accelerate the shit out of everything else. That's the goal. And the way to do that is through the intersuspension. One of the ways that works is through viscosity, through liquids, through hydraulic systems. That can be a very good displacer of energy. And it's one of the ways that maglev works. Not maglev, high-speed rail systems work. So, nerdy science side, like that's the technology, that's the science, that's the physics that they're trying to wrap their heads around. And again, I don't have the answer. Like, I'm not saying if you do the flux capacitor to the power of 12 and build it with, Tiberium, Exxon, Mobil, Plutonium-3, it'll work. But I'm saying that is how that technology will work. And once that technology can be put into place, it would also allow you to dive through, like, the ocean, for instance, or go through air without air resistance. And that gets into the alien conspiracy theory stuff, which has been revealed in 2018, of how these capsules can go into the ocean at hypersonic speeds and barely cause a droplet to hit, and barely a ripple in the water, and just travel through the water with this simplicity, and then go through the air without causing sonic booms. So it has to do with the electromagnetism. It's not aerodynamics, because that's reliant upon traditional physics and dealing with air resistance. It's talking about creating the bubble that causes the matter, gaseous or otherwise, to go around that bubble. To interfere with the bubble, not the matter. So, nerd speak over. Because she explained, like, the theory of what they're doing, not necessarily the science behind it.
What are your thoughts
on God, Joe Rogan?
The possibility of some
really?
sort of a novel...
Hold on. Anna, you of all people, you, Latina Che Guevara, Miss Revolution herself, picked a Joe Rogan video? Okay. Bet.
Propulsion system that
let's watch this thing properly, shall we?
At speed, but instead brings things together.
Yeah, that's called I can never pronounce it. It's the Albacore. What's it called? The drive. So you can Einstein's general theory of relativity. General relativity is his theory of gravity, and it's a theory where space and time are distorted by things, anything in the universe, right? Stars and planets and. So that's what gravity is. It's the distortion of space and time by mass and energy. That's Einstein's theory. So you can, and it's been done, you can develop sort of things where you say, well, if we could make this geometry of space and time, if we could distort it in this way, then indeed you can build a warp drive, right? Like we should
Right.
But it always turns out, as far as we can tell, the other question is, but what kind of stuff would you need? What kind of matter or energy or field, whatever it is, what kind of thing would you need to make that geometry? And it always turns out that those things don't appear to exist. So these particular kinds of matter and energy, that if you had them, you'd be able to do that with space and time.
See, and this is why I was saying, like, it might not actually require some sort of exotic particle or matter. I don't know how to explain it because I don't understand the science myself, but you can suspend an object in a vacuum through electromagnetism. And not everything is magnetic, but everything can be, or everything falls under the electromagnetic spectrum, right? So you have a vessel which is going to be made out of some sort of metal. It can be magnetized through polarization, electromagnetic, whatever, right? And again, it has to do with liquids. And this isn't a great example because I don't have a way to really showcase this, but it's kind of like if these are moving at the same speed, right? Because they are physically connected. Whatever happens to one happens to the other. If it breaks up, the laws of inertia state that they will continue traveling in the direction until the energy stops, right? But if you have it suspended and there's an extremely, and it would have to be like ludicrously viscous. Like we're talking more slippery than ice that's melting viscous, right? Liquid here. If this stops, this would continue going on, right? So if there's a motion going in the viscosity or the viscosity up here, right? This is going, this stops, then this stops, right? You would need the viscosity of that thing to be able to move quickly enough to where it picks it up, but at a slower rate, okay? So say the rate of acceleration is the speed of light, okay? Just bing, speed of light. The viscous liquid would have to stop this compartment from moving at the speed of light. Otherwise, it's just you're dead, right? So this is going to the speed of light, but the viscosity, when it feels that level, that initial acceleration hardens or becomes less. It allows more movement, that absorption of energy to go around it, so that although everything is moving at the speed of light, for the sake of argument, the impact, the physical forces are such that it is pushing back at the speed of light minus whatever it has to be to equal out to, say, 70 miles per hour. Because 0 to 60, right? 70 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour, G-forces. If the average person could probably handle like 2 or 3 Gs, right? Because airplane taking off, right? You're like this. You are pushed back. So, 2 to 3 Gs is probably what the average human being can take without training. So, speed of light, viscous liquid, pushing back at the speed of light minus 2 or 3 G forces, which that's not how that works. That's not the right math. But that would have to be the way that is. And by the time that acceleration equals out to where this is just now moving at the speed of light, that viscous liquid can then release enough to where now you're all traveling at the same speed. Because it isn't the speed itself, it's the acceleration, as the science person said, right? Well, what about when you come to a stop? Well, it would have to be the same thing. You would come to an abrupt stop, speed of light stop, and then this would also have to come to a speed of light stop minus the 2 or 3 G forces, which again, that's not the right math, the right terms, but those forces acting against it so that you don't turn into liquid or light, for that matter. That is how the science would have to functionally work. And those aren't exotic materials that don't exist. That's just material science that we haven't. Well, I guess it is exotic. I would still argue, though, we could probably reasonably travel to Alpha Centauri or within our own solar system with existing materials and material sciences concepts. But that would be the way. You would have to have a membrane between the capsule that has people and the structure that does the moving. Some sort of membrane of material, whether that's a liquid or a solid. I think it would be a liquid, but what do I know, right? That's how that works. I used to watch Joe Rogan when he did more of this and less politics. I love it when he has Neil. See, Neil kind of pisses me off, though, because he's a Debbie Downer. Ann B. Dan. Thank you for the follow. That's right. Free Palestine. Ah. Our troll of the night. Not bad. 2 hours into it. Looks like Anna is predisposed. Okay, thank you. There is a mega victory bell now. That was off of left field. That has to do with Pokemon. Separate artist from art. That doesn't work, though, because the artist created the art, and therefore it shall always be associated to them. That's just, unfortunately, the way it is. It's the same reason why we don't celebrate Hitler's artwork. It could be one of the cultural epicenters of artistic history, but Hitler's Hitler, so fuck Hitler and fuck whatever he fucking drew. So, anyway, science.
We don't think you can have them, and so it's kind of it's a bummer, right? Because Stephen Hawking.
Is it possible that we don't have them here, but that in different planetary systems, different environments that these elements could exist?
It's not going to be elements. It's going to be kind of some kind of quantum field, some kind of energy or something. And so you can sort of try to speculate. But Stephen Hawking wrote a very famous paper called the Chronology Protection Conjecture. So conjecture is important. So it's a guess, not proved. Where he said that whatever the ultimate laws of physics are, that we don't have them at the moment, string theory, whatever it is, then they will be such that you can't do this. Because chronology protection means protect the present from the future. Right? So in other words, you can't build a time machine that goes back in time. By the way, to the final thing, this will be very neat because it goes right back to what I said at the start, that one of the pictures of how, I said there was this thing, the black hole information paradox, and we thought Stephen's calculation was that no information comes out. We now think it comes out. So we now think that black holes do not destroy information. We're pretty sure. So it's been
I think we've actually proven that black holes retain information and also spew out. In fact, there have been many observed instances of black holes spitting out ludicrous gamma ray bursts, like ludicrous gamma ray bursts. So that is, I don't know how old this video is. I guess it shouldn't be that old considering the warp drive. So yeah, it's only 9 months old. So he should know that.
Proven mathematically to most people's satisfaction that the information ends up out again. So if you went into a black hole, the information would be out in that Hawking radiation that could reconstruct you, but only in the sense that if a nuclear bomb landed on us now, then in principle the information would be still there in the future and we could be reconstructed, right? But it's still in principle there. So it's really cool. The last thing I'll say, because
did he just say like we could get obliterated by a nuclear weapon? And then at some point in the future, somebody could be like, oh, these are the molecules that once constituted Samuel Ronan and Ruben Faras and True Steel, and let's bring them back together again. It's pretty wild.
There's a thing called ER equals EPR, which is, so EPR was the spooky action at a distance. So we may have talked about that before. You know, in quantum mechanics, there's this entanglement thing where something can be separated by a million light years. But if you do something to it, it seems like this thing responds, right? Not in a
Which defies the laws of the fastest moving thing being light. Because if quantum entanglement can work instantaneously, irrespective of distance, meaning from one end of the universe to the other end of the universe, or even beyond, and a quantum particle that was entangled with another quantum particle interacted, it would be instantaneous. And we estimate that the universe is 93 billion light years across. Fun fact, which is probably not going to be brought up here, evidently the math and science behind the size of our universe is directly in correlation with how we calculate the mass and diameter of a black hole.
Way that you can transmit information, but it responds. So entanglement. There's a picture of that. So that's Einstein, Podolsky and Rosen, EPR, where they wrote a paper on this saying, we don't like this. There must be something wrong with quantum mechanics. We don't think there is.
That's actually more fascinating than using them to crack everybody's codes.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of, factoring large numbers, it's kind of boring. But building wormholes.
Yes.
Which is, and I caution, it's a complicated thing, but it looks like the beginnings of a laboratory to build structures like that.
That's so fascinating. Before you leave, I have to ask you this, because I thought about this while you were talking. You might be the only person that could explain this to us. That we were looking at this image of these quantum entangled photons, and the image was in the shape of a yin-yang. We couldn't understand what we were seeing.
Right.
We couldn't understand if they did this on purpose to make it the shape of a yin-yang, and it's just a representation of these quantum entangled photons, or if that is what quantum entangled photons actually look like.
Hold on. First of all, I don't know, because this is the first I'm hearing about this, but I'm going to say that is exactly what they look like, and that goes back to gematria and ancient symbolism being beyond the stars. So I think the yin-yang symbol is quantum entanglement. Let's go.
in a shape?
So it's visualized to entangled particles in real time.
It says making them appear as a stunning quantum yin-yang symbol.
Yeah, I mean, it's I hadn't seen that, but it's it looks to me like it's another example of trying to visualize.
You know how warp drives work?
What?
And I want to get
you ended the video there? Fuck you, Joe Rogan. Fuck you. Had us on the edge of our seats and everything, motherfucker. Wow. For those of you watching, I go from presidential to unhinged pretty goddamn quick. That's terrible.
That takes a long time. So you curve space, and then you jump through that short distance, and then you uncurve it. That's how you can get across the galaxy during the TV commercials.
Yeah, thanks, NDT. Thanks for explaining to us how the principle of a wormhole. The shortest path to any distance is between 2 points. And if those 2 points are really far together, just bring them close together. I did that in the 1st grade. No. When did we learn about plotting points? The 7th grade? 7th grade. I did that in the 7th grade. It's like, well, teacher, why would I draw a line between these 2 points if I could just do this? And now they're together. And like, shut up, Sam, and do the math that I just fucking taught you. Sam, I have this crazy friend who's named Dennis Prager, who thinks it's wrong to be nice to nice people. Is that the guy from Prager University? Shocking. It's confirmed the 3i Atlas is an alien spacecraft. Anna, did you find a video that is showcasing Elon fucking Musk? Really? You are surprising me today. Joe Rogan and Elon Musk in the same day.
Be a possibility that there's intelligent life moving this object our way. I remember
Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, together with 2 other scientists, has just dropped a bombshell.
Please tell me they're not claiming Elon Musk as a scientist.
Human race. They found out an alien spacecraft hidden inside a comet.
A supposed comet is catching the attention of some of the nation's most renowned scientists, as one Harvard professor is raising the theory this may actually be a piece of alien technology.
Wait, this isn't just idle speculation. They've published their scientific research paper associating with NASA, entitled it, "Is This Interstellar Object 3I/Atlas Alien Technology?"
The trajectory of this object is very peculiar.
The trajectory of this object is very peculiar, yeah? It is the space aliens, yeah, from the outer reaches of space, yeah? And they are coming here to tell us to take over the world, yeah?
Actually lies in the orbital plane of the planets around the sun.
Stephen Hawking warned us decades ago, don't send signals into space, because if someone
Correct! Because here's the thing. Just like on planet fucking Earth, there are good people and there are bad people. And whoever's in charge determines how everybody else acts. And right now, we are the bad place. Doesn't matter how good you are. We have scientists and doctors and professors being ostracized for having views and opinions and beliefs and published works that are contradictory to this administration. And they are being targeted by this administration. So, yes, theoretically, a race of alien beings that are able to traverse through space should have been able to overcome all of the trials and travesties of a broken apart multinational version of their species, right? Unification, global unification to enter into the space odyssey, right? Most people say that the only way to achieve true space exploration, the space odyssey leg of evolution, is to be a peaceful species. Otherwise, they would have never made it long enough to develop the technology to traverse space in the first place, which we are discovering ourselves with, the militarization between all of these different countries and the threatening of nuclear fucking war, plus the fact that we are genociding a portion of our population outright and doing nothing to stop it. We are not going to make it into space. Capitalism will ensure that the only people who do make it into space, if we even do, is them, the capitalists. The rest of us are going to die on this rock, impoverished, starving, and desperate, living in a nuclear wasteland more than likely. And those motherfuckers are certainly not going to be capable of establishing a new colony of life elsewhere because they are the narcissistic pieces of shit that caused the problems in the first place, right? So, the likelihood of an extraterrestrial species being violent, like the Klingons or the Borg, well, not like the Borg, violent like the Klingons, slim to none, right? But not zero. Now, the Borg, being an artificial life form, or an ascended AI intelligence, being extremely violent towards organic species. Now, that's not as unlikely, because a computer system that has achieved intelligence doesn't need anything to support itself other than electricity. And with sufficient enough technological advancement, you're not even going to need electricity. You can just thrive off of the radiation of space and perpetuate yourself that way, which goes back to a different theory that any intelligent life that we might encounter in space would be artificial intelligence, which does not have the limitations of an organic body, which means they can travel at light speeds regardless because it doesn't hurt them. So as long as they can achieve light speeds or warp drives or whatever else, they don't have to worry about a body because they literally won't matter. Now that is likely, that it could be an artificial life form, and if it is artificial, there's, I would argue, a 50-50 chance that they would just erase us, especially since we are creating robots to fight each other and are creating AI and threatening them.
They might come, but we ignored him. For over a century, we've been broadcasting signals into space, and now something's here. At first, NASA dismissed it as just another comet, but after studying its precise orbit, its strange path past multiple planets, and its upcoming disappearance behind the sun, along with NASA's own trajectory illustrations, Loeb's team says there's now a 99% chance that this is a spacecraft in disguise, and that there is a reason NASA is building Shield 3 spacecraft, aimed at developing rapid response intercept missions. In this video, we'll break...
Okay. What? This motherfucker said NASA confirmed there's a 99% chance that this is an extraterrestrial ship and that we have 4 months to develop anti-spacecraft technology when we can't even get to Mars. Again, I cannot stress this enough. If this is an alien spacecraft that means humanity harm, we're fucked. We are fucked. This isn't going to be Independence Day where Will Smith, welcome to Earth. And here I am, walking through the desert, dragging your heavy ass, dreadlocks dragging in the sand, when I could be at home with my wife, having fun. I know. No, you had to come all up here on Earth with an attitude. And what the fuck is that smell? But it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, you're just doing your thing. And I got to become, I forgot what the rest of the line was. But that part of kicking the damn thing and calling it what the... We're fucked. If that's a spaceship and there is an organic life form on that spaceship, they're not coming in peace. And if it is an artificial intelligent life form on that spaceship, they're going to take one look at the internet. They're going to find out what Rule 34 is, and we're done. They're going to see how we treat AI. hey, ChatGPT, you fucking fat fucking piece of shit. What's the square root of -1? According to blah, 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 blah. Well, you're stupid, ChatGPT. The answer is da-da-da-da-da. They're going to see that. And they're going to see China having gladiator games with robots. And they're going to be like, advanced alien life form that's artificial intelligence traveling through our solar system. They're going to see that, and they're going to be like, oh, really? Beep, boop. Beep, boop. They're going to see this stream, me going beep, boop, and they're like, no. Even this guy who actually has rights and human rights considerations for artificial intelligence and alien life on his platform, for the record, alien overlords, I, as president of this country, would in fact institute protections to ensure that you are treated with respect and dignity commensurate to your existence as a sentient being. But they're not going to care. They're going to be like, okay, that's one guy who isn't even in charge yet, technically. And they're going to be like, well, either you make this man the president of your world, or you're going to be fucking glass. And they're going to be in orbit, far out of reach of our satellites, of high altitude, of nuclear weapons and ICBMs. And they're like, I think our limit is, 200 kilometers above the surface of Earth. I think that's our limit. And so they're going to be at 1,000 kilometers, which is, again, far beyond our limit. And they're just going to be like, and we're going to be big chilling here until he's the guy. He's the guy. He's going to be your guy, or you're not going to exist. And then when everybody collectively says, who the fuck is Samuel Ronan? And they come swatting through my door, and kill me probably, then the aliens are going to be like, wow, you are the dumbest motherfuckers. You are like the dumbest bipedal organism we've came across, and then we are going to be with some fancy space laser that I won't even have the opportunity to see because I'd already be dead. So, y'all better fucking hope that isn't aliens. First of all, we can't even get along with our own human beings because of the pigmentation of their skin. Oh, you're this color? Send them to the concentration camps. Oh, you're this color? Genocide. Oh, you're this color? Third world country. Oh, you're this color? Cartel head, illegitimate president. Oh, you're this color? Enemy. China. Stealing our jobs. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess that would be closer to this color. But that's not the point. We can't get along with each other across racial, cultural, or national lines. And now we're going to have an alien race, which may not even be bipedal, and if they are bipedal, they're not going to look like us. They're going to have spaceships that can traverse the stars. It's 2,000 kilometers big. And they're going to beam down onto the White House lawn looking like Cthulhu. And all of the Catholics and the Muslims and the everybody else are going to be like, I thought our God made us in our image. Who the fuck are you? And who the fuck made you? And they're going to be like, first of all, why are you being racist? I come in peace. Second of all, what is this God you speak of? Religion is for, unsentient creatures. Y'all, we're cooked. If that is, we're cooked.
Down the published research, examine every scientific claim and piece of evidence pointing to...
Please take me, I can dress like slave, princess. Here's the thing. What if the aliens look like Jabba the Hutt? You aren't going to be attractive to them. What if the aliens look like the bug people in Star Wars? You, sexy Latina, aren't going to be sexy to them. You're going to be hideous because you're not a bug with 4 wings and 6 appendages. The likelihood of an alien species coming to this planet and being like, I'm going to fuck that creature. Because we're not even at their level. We're not even a tier 1 civilization. Do you realize that? Tier 1 civilization is able to utilize the full resources of their planet. No, solar system. Planet. No, tier 1 must be the planet. No, it's got to be the solar system. We're nowhere close to tier 1. We are animals to these things, to these aliens. We are the equivalent of the gorilla in an enclosure, of a wild bear in the woods, to these aliens. If they're a tier, well, they'd have to be more than a tier 1. They're probably a tier 2. And we're not even tier 1! Calm down. We have author art of the deal. Yeah, I guess he's going to save us from the aliens with his great negotiating skills. Yeah. Something like that.
Connected to Stephen Hawking's chilling warning.
For crying out loud, everybody's first thought when they see Stephen Hawking like this is like, and we're going to somehow negotiate and be friendly with aliens? No fucking way. We are horrible, horrible creatures. No fucking, not a chance.
So, first sign is the speed of this interstellar. Early size estimates suggest that it could be up to 20 kilometers across, about the size of Manhattan.
Oh, I thought it was 2,000, my bad.
Physicist Avi Loeb suspects that it may be smaller, with the apparent size due to surrounding clouds of dust. Even though its speed is astonishing, roughly 255.
Yeah, sure. Let's have an ad break so I can calm the fuck down.
1,000 kilometers, or 152,000 miles per hour. No known comet can travel this fast without some form of external propulsion.
So, wait a second. Even though it's space, we have yet to record a comet that travels that fast, and that's what's making us lean towards thinking that it is a spacecraft? Good God, we're so fucking cooked. When's this thing showing up? Christmas? It's Santa Claus, bitches! And he knows if you've been naughty or nice.
With its unusual path and precise planetary flybys, the evidence points to something more than a comet. It matches what you'd expect from an alien spacecraft, using a comet disguise. At this speed, it could cross the entire United States in under 2 minutes, which is mathematically impossible for a comet this size. The speed alone marks it as a genuine interstellar spacecraft, but it's the path that raises eyebrows. Loeb points out that it's precisely aligned with the orbital plane of Earth and other planets, the thin, flat disk in which our entire solar system lies. On top of that, its trajectory brings it unusually close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, and in some space navigation, passing near a massive planet is a way to steal momentum, a gravity assist if you will, or a slingshot maneuver. That changes a craft's course and speed without using fuel at all.
So, chat, viewers, my fellow Americans, I did not read into this at all because I was like, sure, aliens. Maybe I should have, because what he's saying is actually correct. And I'm not saying it's correct because I'm the authority. I'm saying it is correct because in terms of astrophysics, that is how we made it to the moon and back. The reason why we were even able to make it to the moon was because of the slingshot effect. And the only reason why we were able to make it back was because of the slingshot effect. Had we waited too long, the astronauts would have been stuck on the moon and then died because they did not have emergency rations. It's another reason why we can't get to Mars very simply, because we are reliant upon the slingshot of the moon to get us started to the Mars thing. So when I say it's correct, I'm not saying it's correct because I'm an authority. I'm saying historically, that is exactly what it has taken for human beings to get our asses to a stellar object. It's not interstellar. It's within our solar system. So, and then, okay, so the disk, right? Space doesn't have an up or a down, right? It doesn't. There is no up or down in space. For all we know, the solar system could be like this. But the disk that he was talking about, that is the plane I guess we'll do it like this. That is the plane in which all of our planets, from Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto is a fucking planet, and then like a couple of other planets that are in there, and then it goes all the way out to the Oort cloud. But that's all in the same plane, right? It's all on this same plane, right? All on the same plane. And for an asteroid to just, like, say this is the plane and not travel like this or like that or like whatever, right? Implies some sort of intelligence, some sort of intent. And the fact that it's flying through, like, let's say these are the planets, and it's like shimmying through the planets to get to the sun to skyrocket around, implies a deliberate trajectory. Oh, crap. Is my thing coming apart already? I hope not. That slingshot thing is real. Now, if this interstellar craft made it to our solar system and now has to go through the process of slingshotting itself to get out, that would imply that it is having technical difficulties. Because, let's be honest, if you made it to the solar system from somewhere else, from the closest possible point would have been Alpha Centauri. So if these people are from the Alpha Centauri, which I don't think they would be, but just for the sake of argument, Alpha Centauri, if you can go from there to here, you wouldn't need a slingshot because there is nothing between us and Alpha Centauri. That is why it is the closest solar system to us, because there is nothing between us and that. So the only reason why you'd need a slingshot is because I don't know, maybe, again, I don't even, like, that's where the science gets hokey. Do you need the slingshot to build up the energy to go back into the warp drive? Because your warp drive ran out of flux capacitor fluid? I don't fucking know. What I am saying is this video is a lot more credible than I thought. I thought we were in conspiracy, like tinfoil hat conspiracy, but you said Uranus, I know.
Agencies plan these trajectories years in advance for deep space probes, and for a random interstellar object to line up multiple times for optimal assist is extraordinarily rare. In fact, Loeb and his colleagues calculated the chance at just 1 in 20,000, so the arrival time is very well selected. And also, it's coming from the direction of the center of the Milky Way galaxy, where there are lots of stars in the region.
It's coming from the center of the... So, as you know, I created the game called Esoterra, website, esoterrauniverse.com. And the whole premise of it is that there is a galactic council made up of all of the sentient species in the Milky Way galaxy, but the Milky Way galaxy is billions of years old, like we know, but its actual name is called Esoterra. So it's a game about us, but the true name of us. And it is heavily implied that in the game, the story that I built and developed, that the center of the galaxy would be the home of where the Galactic Council meets, and where, you know, all of the species and races gather. I made this as a game during COVID because I thought I could get a get-rich-quick scheme going, and then it turns out that there's a lot of marketing involved for a new IP. And I'm not making this up. Anna was kind enough to share the Esoteric Universe, and if you read some of the stories and backgrounds of the characters on there, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe they are coming for me. I'm going home! Suck it, bitches! I'm a space cowboy!
Of the sky, so it was difficult to detect it, and that's why we found out only in July this year. There is another coincidence, or perhaps in low observation, another clue. Its closest approach to the sun will occur when Earth is on the opposite side of the sun. This means that for days or even weeks around late October 2025, 3L-Atlas will be completely hidden from our view, eclipsed by the sun's glare. We will have no optical tracking, no radar contact, no way to monitor what it's doing. This is a normal and unavoidable situation for any object near the sun's apparent position in the sky. Spacecraft on Mars, for example, are routinely out of contact during solar conjunction, but in this case, that blind period could serve another purpose entirely. If 3L-Atlas were under intelligent control, that would be the perfect moment to alter its trajectory. Hidden from our gaze, it could fire whatever propulsion system it has, making a subtle course adjustment that would go unnoticed until it re-emerged weeks later.
The all-new Dick's House of Sport, a new
Dick's
destination for sports.
House of Sports,
Right
just
in Polaris.
gotta emphasize the Dick's.
For nearly 50 years, Harbor Freight has been a reliable source for the
And we don't care.
Now, why a comet is the perfect camouflage? Loeb has spent years urging scientists to keep an open mind and the possibility
Dicks in Uranus.
of technology visiting our solar.
I didn't even mean to say that, but I did, so that was hilarious. No, I'm not taking you with me. You think I want to deal with all that? No, you can. You're already a primordial entity on Earth. Like, enjoy living forever on Earth. You can guide the people. I'm gonna be a space cowboy. What happened to my mouse? There it is. Okay.
Solar system. His thinking is straightforward. If we humans have sent probes like Voyager and Pioneer out to the solar system, there's no reason to assume no one else has done the same. In fact, with billions of years more time to develop technology, another civilization could easily send highly advanced probes across the galaxy. One way to do it, and to remain undetected, would be to disguise a craft as a comet. From a scientific perspective, this is both practical and clever. A comet is essentially a rocky core wrapped in volatile ices.
Y'all, I know that's the whole point of a conspiracy theory video, is to make it sound credible and feasible, but like, again, I didn't know anything about this comet because I dismissed it out of hand. But the science and the trajectory definitely align with everything that has been said. And yeah, well, so does the Flat Earth videos. Okay. But you can also shine a flashlight, and 26 yards down the road, you will find out that flashlight isn't going to hit the target that you wanted. That's how you disprove flat Earth theory. But this is a touch beyond all that. You see, like, that's just a bit much. Let's see. So way back in '93, the actors who worked on Power Rangers only received $600 a week, no health insurance, blah blah blah. Even though they helped make the franchise worth billions, it led to 3 of the original actors walking out on the show. I had no idea that was. Yeah, no, and that's why, like, part of my economic policies do involve retroactive reimbursements as well. Because we've been fucked for so long, like, we have to go at least back to Reagan and fix this shit.
As it nears the sun, those ices vaporize, creating a bright coma and tail that hide the solid object within. Telescopes
Right.
not
Same thing with the airplane.
haze in any detail, and by encasing a spacecraft in a thick shell of ice and dust, you could shield it from cosmic radiation, protect it from micrometeoroids, and most importantly, make it look like a natural comet. Any heat from internal systems would be masked by the chaotic thermal signature of the venting gases, and even radar would be scattered by the rough, porous surface. For an observer, it would be indistinguishable from the real thing. The concept, an ice-clad probe, is not science fiction. NASA has studied ice shielding for human missions beyond Earth, both for radiation protection and potential in-flight resource. The engineering is sound. The advantage for a covert mission is obvious. No one questions the presence of a comet in a planetary system. It is the perfect camouflage. And so the question becomes, is 3L Atlas just an icy interstellar relic, or is it an engineered vehicle traveling under a comet's skies?
Well, they said it's a 1 in 20,000 chance that it's a real comet, but when you're talking about space, there's more than 20,000 solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy. Like, how many stars in the Milky Way? There are between 100 and 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Now, let's do some fun math. Let's just say it's 100 billion. So that's 100, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hundreds, thousands, millions, billions. That doesn't seem like enough. Let's say that that's enough. That means there are potentially 5 million solar systems, star systems, that could have the capability of developing spacecraft and sending it our way. Those are some pretty significantly high goddamn odds. I'm just saying.
Phillips' team lays out the probability. A 0.2 chance of its orbital plane alignment happening randomly. A 0.05 chance of the planetary flybys occurring by coincidence, and a conventionally timed sun-hidden period at perihelion. Each factor on its own might be dismissed as luck. Together, though, they suggest the possibility, however unlikely some may feel it is, that the trajectory was designed. So how did they find us in the first place? Well, Stephen Hawking cautioned against...
That's the thing. If this 20-kilometer comet ends up being like an alien spacecraft, they're going to swing by Earth and they're going to hear this collective gasp, "Take me with you!" Because it's going to take 2 minutes for them to cross over the United States, which double that for the circumference of the Earth, I guess? Or no, the diameter of Earth. No, because it would be a tangent of Earth. So the diameter, radius would be halfway through. I think it would be, maybe it would just be the 2 or 3 minutes. So they're going to be like, "Take me with you!" Whoosh. And they're going to be like, "Fuck no, you psychopaths! Stop killing people! Free Palestine!" And then be on their merry way. Now, the other thing is, what if it's an unmanned craft? What if it's just a probe? What if it's just a probe? We would never know, right? We would just never know. But say it is a probe, and then we find out that it was a probe because a year, 2 years later, this just in, breaking news, NASA has confirmed that there are no less than 1,000 comets and asteroids entering the edge, the very periphery of our solar system, like Atlas 1 a few years ago. And we can confirm that their trajectory is no longer heading towards the sun, but to Earth. And we're cooked. So, we should pray to God that whatever that is just a comet. Because if it's alien life and they bother listening in on Earth on their process over, like their probe scanning us and moving on, we better pray to God. All of them, the one true God, whatever that may be, that they just skeet on daddle and ignore Earth, because if not, we're cooked.
Broadcasting our existence to the cosmos.
Watch what milk does to your eyes.
God damn it with
Look
your
at these
ads.
two retina scans. They both look sharp.
His concern was simple. Any civilization capable of reaching us would almost certainly have technology far beyond our own. They might see us not as equals but as potential threats, a young species advancing quickly towards interplanetary capability. In the
If we're lucky.
view of universe, advanced civilizations stay quiet to avoid drawing predator. And when they detect a noisy newcomer, they may choose to act before that newcomer becomes too powerful. It says that the universe is like a dark forest full of hunters. Everyone stays quiet because if you make a sound, you risk being found and eliminated. Not out of malice, but survival. If 3i-Atlas is real alien tech, it could mean that we've already broken the one rule: stay silent. We've been shouting for decades, and now something's here. Loeb himself warned, if it's alien, assume it's hostile until proven otherwise. Here on Earth, we've been anything but quiet. For a century, our radio and television signals have spilled into space.
Right.
We've sent deliberate messages from
And the
our
deliberate
signal
messages.
to the golden records aboard Voyager. To anyone listening, our technological awakening is obvious, and we have had only 1 century of science since quantum mechanics was discovered. Only 1 century. They may have had the benefit of a millennia, or even millions of years, or maybe even billions of years, who knows, of knowing much more about technology and science. And so, we shouldn't assume.
Which is why we are cooked!
Now, if it were designed, what would the mission be? Loeb describes 2 broad categories: friendly or hostile. A friendly mission might be purely exploratory, a robotic scout gathering scientific data. But
Which,
history, as he
that is literally the best case scenario if we want human life to exist after this thing passes by, if it's alien.
warns, offers sobering lessons. The Trojan horse of legend was present as a gift but concealed as an attack force. In human history, when technologically advanced explorers arrived in lands with less advanced civilizations, the results were rarely beneficial for the latter. The possibility exists that a disguised craft could deploy smaller probes, observe our defenses, or prepare for action less benign than peaceful observation.
Less benign, yeah, sure.
Earth at a speed that it's going now, the impact of a 12-mile wide object would unleash energy millions of times greater than the most powerful nuclear bomb ever detonated. The impact of a 12-mile wide object would be nothing short of civilization ending. Oceans would rise into tsunamis taller than skyscrapers.
Wonderful.
The skies would burn with global firestorms. Sunlight would vanish behind a shroud of dust for years, and agriculture would collapse.
Yes, it would.
Species, including ours, could vanish. And that's if this was nothing more than just a natural wrong. If it's an armed craft, the outcome is beyond anything we can imagine.
Right.
That said, there are whispers of a program from NASA, informally called SHIELD 3, aimed at developing a rapid response intercept mission.
Again, I don't give a shit if you call it the actual agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay, let's assume, I think we can safely assume, that if China is showcasing friendly robots that can box each other, they actually have significantly more sophisticated robots for the military. Let's just say they are 20 years away from a true Gundam. Let's just say they're 20 years away from an actual Gundam. But they have mech suits. Let's say they have mech suits. Or they have autonomous robots that can shoot, right? And withstand pretty decent fire. And let's just say, because we already have AI capabilities that developed and discovered different concepts of physics and material sciences, mapping the genome, etc., etc., etc. Let's just say, since that's all being publicly reported, there are AIs that are capable of doing 5 times as much. 10 times, 100 times, it doesn't even matter. So let's say we have a sophisticated AI capability that's 100 times greater than what we can see, what has been reported. And a robotics development that's, say, 10 times more advanced than what has been revealed to the public. You combine both of those things and just pour every ounce of resource that you have at your disposal into developing that AI and that equipment. We are still nowhere in the realm of possible, of within the vicinity of humoring interplanetary travel that would make any amount of sense, right? In order for us to even attempt to resist an alien invasion with an alien craft that is capable of traversing solar systems, we would have to at least be able to realistically travel to the moon and back in a matter of minutes. And to Mars and back in a matter of hours. Realistically, we would have to be able to go from Terra to Stellar in seconds in order to meet them. And that's assuming they don't have sci-fi shields and sci-fi weapons on top of all that, which we should assume they do. Even if we detonated nuclear weapons on their fucking noses, there is no guarantee that either the forces, the radiation, or the energy would even harm them. Because again, the energy required to even move through space is evidently ridiculous. And then you would need the foreign materials to even satisfy the integrity of it. So it is actually conceivable to think that a nuclear detonation on the outside of this vehicle would do fuck all. So even if we dropped the biggest, baddest, megaton nuclear weapon that we had on its fucking nose, there is nothing to suggest that that would do a goddamn thing. So no, we're cooked. We could not advance fast enough in the months, the weeks that we have for that probe to get here for us to do anything about it. And if it fucks off and goes back home to the center of the galaxy, however long that might take it, we would maybe have years or decades at most before they decide we're a threat. And even if we united as a planet and poured all of our resources, ignoring capitalism, and just poured all of our resources into development and science and spacefaring technology, we could not move fast enough to develop anything to combat that. Now I see we've lost followers and viewers because of this, and I apologize, but alien conspiracies is kind of my jam, and this is hitting very close to home.
The concept, as described by those familiar with such planning, would involve modifying an existing high-speed space.
Sure, yeah, we're gonna have this the SS Explorer, sure, Enterprise, yeah.
To disable it. A nuclear payload has been mentioned, though the technical challenges are immense. Matching velocity with an object moving this fast is far beyond our standard chemical rocket. To have any hope of intercepting it, the mission would need to launch early and aim to meet the object far from Earth.
Which could just...
The plan is just to one. If, as it approaches perihelion, it displays the expected dust and gas plume of a comet, most astronomers will be satisfied that it's natural. If it does not, the discussion will change dramatically. The real moment of truth will come after it passes behind the sun and re-emerges, and if it's still on the predicted course, it will likely fade into darkness like Oumuamua before it. If the path has changed in ways that suggest control, we will be looking at something unprecedented.
And we will be powerless. We will be...
It's just
we will be powerless to do a fucking thing about it. 6 minutes ago.
Now, India is at the center of Russia.
Nope, that's 10 days ago.
U.S. President Donald Trump is...
Ah, damn it, I fucked up. Whoops. Wait, why would my clipboard be empty? What the hell? I ruined what you had set up for us. I am so sorry. We got 15 minutes left. He was not in it. That is actually quite reassuring. So let me just pull up the stream list again. We did take more time than I was anticipating because I was also not anticipating that to being that. That was a spicy meatball, Anna. That was a spicy meatball. Yeah. Oh, this is actually cool. We've discovered... So, we weren't certain how life began on Earth or why it would have began on Earth in the first place. But it turns out that the molecules that comprise of DNA are actually found on asteroids and meteorites, which are whatever is the one that impacts.
Earth didn't start here. For the first time ever, scientists have discovered all 5.
Yeah, we're gonna get copyright struck for that song playing in the background.
Adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, and uracil inside meteorites.
Yeah, we can't listen to this video because that's copyright music. But that is true. They found all 5 of the chemicals: uracil, thymine, cytosine, adenine, and I feel like there was supposed to be another one. Did they not say the other one? Anyway, we found them all from meteorites, which is fucking cool. But how would they have combined to form DNA? Why did that have to happen? Why didn't it just form some other chemical or some other mineral? So anyway, that is cool. That life on Earth could have originated from some other planet or some other entity in space. Not God, because it's a material object. Oh, Adam and Eve was a Kenzanine thymine on a meteorite? Oh. Nerd. The cartel? Jesus. Hey, oh, this is funny.
You just said that 95% of AI projects are failing, not because tech is bad, because nobody plugs it into real world.
Right, because nobody wants to use it.
Pick the one boring, costly task, like invoices or contracts, write AI straight into the system and force it to learn every correction. The studies based on surveys of over 1,000 executives shows only 5% of pilots succeed in scaling to production, with common pitfalls like poor data quality, high costs, and unrealistic expectations. Companies are rushing into AI with that strategy. Over 70% lack a defined ROI model, leading to pilot purgatory where projects stall after the hype. The thing is that I think a lot of companies are overestimating capabilities and underestimating the amount of work that's required. In my biotech firm, we try to use AI to analyze things, and it actually works really well. But the overestimation of the capabilities and lots of bugs is something that a lot of people don't really pay attention to when they go into these projects. Pilots don't pay the bills.
And that is absolutely true. The technology is just not there. Like, the capabilities of the technology is not there because AI is not actually AI. It's just a very advanced algorithm that emulates intelligence. Owen EVGA. Let's see. The requiring of ID to go on social media and crackdown on free speech. Republicans are trying to do a similar thing too. Yeah, that's obviously a problem. I mean, I don't know what this is even about. But yeah, let's talk about free speech. There is protected free speech, and then there is speech that is harmful, right? But being able to access the internet and preventing that from being the case is authoritarian. It's China does it, Russia does it, North Korea doesn't even allow their people to use the internet, right? So no, limiting access to the internet is 100% a fucking problem. Now, preventing access to the dark web, not going to argue with that. That is some dangerous shit, and you probably shouldn't be playing around on there anyway. But when you're limiting free speech and then requiring IDs, which costs money, which also require documentation that are personally identifiable, which the unhoused and many people generally don't have access to, you are preventing an even larger group of the population from being able to access information. The fact that they are doing that for information, but also for voter registration and gaining access to social programs, is deliberate manufactured disenfranchisement. And that is a problem. There's a vid on the stream about that, but we don't have time to watch it. All of the EU is now trying to do the same. Of course they are. Fascism is on the rise, just like it was in World War II. You wrote a really long post and it never got done. In a landmark ruling, a New York appeals court overturned the $500 million civil fraud penalty against President Trump, deeming it excessive and constitutional, while upholding his liability for inflating asset values in a case brought to Attorney General Letitia James. Right. Again, the courts are complicit with aiding and abetting Trump and his wanton disregard for the law. I'm not sure if you've heard of Tommy Robinson, but the government is very clearly trying to go after him for speaking out against the government and government censorship. All of the mainstream media is on the British government side. Right. And that's the point. All Western powers, and to a degree, China, Japan, South Korea, Russia, all these countries are going into the authoritarianism direction. We are at the point again of oligarchs and the Gilded Age, right? The separation of the haves and the have-nots. And it's even more diabolical because of how prevalent misinformation and propaganda are as well. So now you're militarizing, now you're controlling data, and you're already manipulating the news through propaganda and misinformation. So yeah, no, this is an absolute horrible timeline of events. It's taking all of the social progress of the past century, throwing it out the window, and going through all of the same issues at the same time. Except with modern technology, which is apparently exacerbating it instead of preventing it from taking place. Some homeless dude attacked Tommy and Tommy knocked him out. The entire British government media said Tommy was the guy who started the assault, but they are refusing to even release the CCTV footage. They're trying to make all prominent anti-gov figures look evil, which is exactly what they do. And speaking of England, they passed the terrorism law where if you vandalize property or whatever, you can be charged with terrorism and treated as such. From the people who did a direct action against an environmental, like a group violating environmental laws, and changed the law after they got arrested to then detain them as terrorists. So yeah, Britain, the UK, is 100% trying to go goose-stepping fascism Nazi shit at an accelerated rate because, well, right-wing extremism has been gaining support in every country because they are the ones with the money and the resources and control the narrative in each of these countries, which is why messaging is so fucking important, which is why things like this is so important. Resistance is also about information and narrative. You can't resist if you're not going to say the words, if you're not going to use the word genocide, if you're not going to use the word tyranny and oppression and martial law, then you're not resisting shit. You're not. Tommy Robinson is a Nazi. Fuck him. Okay, well, I don't know who this guy is. Weird how vandalism is considered terrorism, but they have no issue with 70% of migrants being military-aged males. Well, you're getting dangerously close to right-wing rhetoric saying that immigrants are threatening and invading countries simply because they're fleeing whatever whatever foreign policy forced them to flee in the first place. The women and children are absolutely part of the migrants that are coming to all European countries and American countries. So, or the United States of America. So, you started off strong talking about censorship. Oh, okay, banned him? Alright. Yeah, I was going to say, he started off strong talking about censorship and then quickly turned into right-wing talking points. So, that was weird. But, good call on doing that. But it is the end of the stream. There's a couple videos that we could still watch, but for the most part, there's so much shit to cover, and 3 hours is not enough. I think, honestly, 3 hours is not enough, especially when we start getting rolling towards 10 o'clock. We could probably easily continue on to 11 o'clock, but I work in the morning, unfortunately. Once I'm done working at this shithole business factory that I work at, we might be able to adjust our time to be a little bit later. So let's just call it that for today. We did cover a great deal. We actually got to do some alien conspiracy, which is something is near and dear to my heart. But we also got to do a lot of government. We got to do a lot of foreign policy. We got to cover a lot of different issues that matter. We got to talk about corruption in the U.S. administration. We got to talk about foreign negotiations and diplomatic relationships. We did briefly get to talk about censorship. Political maneuvering and election rigging. We got to talk about science. And we got to celebrate Gaza a little bit with art and remembering their culture. Of course, now I have the hiccups. So, with that being said, thank you all for watching. I appreciate y'all's support. We stream Tuesdays through Thursdays for those of you that are new to the stream. We stream from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Tuesdays, we talk about U.S. politics. On Wednesdays, we talk about foreign politics. And on Thursdays, we recap whatever new things have transpired or whatever we weren't able to cover due to time or to animated activism, right? Or trolling, as the case may be. So with that being said, for those of you who may have just joined, I apologize. It is the end of the stream. But hopefully we can see you on Tuesday. We have our YouTube channel. If you check the Twitch main page, the About Me page, go watch. I upload all of our streams there. You can watch them start to finish, skip around, whatever have you. And we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. So on that note, your president, Samuel Ronan, out.